Today, we will be focusing our attention on environment-friendly schools. We will look at what happens within these environment-friendly schools in terms of environmental education. So many environment-friendly schools around the world have incorporated environmental education into their design, operation, and curriculum. So what does that mean? It simply means that putting something about environmental education into the curriculum is not enough. It needs to be got into the operation of the system, the teaching of various subjects, and it needs to be part of the design of the entire build-up of what the school is all about. So it needs to go beyond simply paper and pencil on a policy or a curriculum document and into practice. The most common strategies are incorporating environmental education. So the first strategy is really taking and accepting environmental education as part of the curriculum, as part of something that we want to teach. So it gets into the curriculum, but it needs to be adapted to local context, because the environmental education offered in the developed world would be very different from what it is offered in our part of the world. And so we need to tailor our environmental education to the local context. Lessons on key climate change topics such as global warming, the greenhouse effect, and weather-related disasters are not enough. So simply talking about the disasters that happen is not enough. We need to go beyond the disasters. And that means, how do we prevent these disasters from happening? What do we do to curtail the rise in the global warming, the rise in the greenhouse effect, the rise in weather-related disasters? How do we prevent these from increasing, and how do we avoid? The other piece is, when it happens, how do we cope with it? Both these concepts have to be dealt with. At-risk communities must develop local adaptation policies and practices addressing disaster risk reduction, emergency preparedness, and locally relevant sustainable development options. So, for example, when the monsoons come every summer, the heavy part of the southern Punjab province takes the brunt of it, because that's where most of the flooding happens. So that's the local area that is prone to these disasters. How do people and young people, our students in those areas, work to address the issue of the monsoon flooding, try and cope with the effects of the monsoon flooding, and what do we do in advance to prepare for ourselves to avoid the disasters of this monsoon flooding? Only local policies and adaptations that people will take in those particular areas will actually address the issue. People and individuals from outside are not going to be enough to come in and tell us what to do. The local people will have to learn for themselves and try to find the solutions. That can happen if we teach our students problem-solving skills today. A nationally significant child-focused participatory approach works best. Why nationally significant? Because it's not enough just to look at Punjab or southern Punjab. It is important to look at the other provinces and other areas also that get affected, if not by the monsoon floods, get affected by drought. And what does one do there? The situations are different, actually opposites. One is dry and one is extremely wet. In South Africa, for example, stakeholders, including the National Environmental Education Program and the Weather Service, designed curricular materials for climate change. Some organization, some group will need to step in, and the curriculum material will have to be designed, prepared, printed, circulated, and that's how young people will learn what to do. So the first step is to identify the issues, and the next step is then to come up with creative, engaging curricular activities that will help the young people learn what these issues and problems are. The tools included resource guides, training workshops, a competition among schools, and a national media campaign. So a lot needs to be done. Simply saying we've done the materials, we've trained the teachers in using the materials is not enough. What does one do? How do you make competition work successfully? Unfortunately, the way we see competition is who came first in the class and who is last. There needs to be healthy competition between and among different schools that will help make this campaign worthwhile, progress, help students learn, and the media will need to be involved. The media today plays a significant role in anything and everything. So when something like this happens in schools, the media should be invited to highlight what individuals, what young people in these schools are doing about environmental education.